Hi, welcome back to another episode of Beers Brothers. My name is Theo, your favorite YouTuber. You probably noticed that there is a slightly different background today. Well, you can see these kegs. That gives you a little bit of a clue. I'm just at a brewery called Signal Brewery. So, based in South London, in Croydon. I've been invited today to produce an entire batch of fresh beer, and this is going to be a first for me. It's something that I haven't ever done. You're going to be joining me on this journey. It's going to be as new to you as it is for me. The entire day is going to involve me learning step by step how to make high quality beer. And Signal Brewery are a London-based brewery that produce some absolutely delightful. Okay, delightful is probably putting a little bit too banging beer. That's what they produce. So the fact that I can learn, get my hands dirty, see it from the inside out, behind the scenes, is something that I'm extremely excited about. And I'm really hoping that this is going to be one of the many videos like this that I'll be taking you on, whether it's some of the smaller brewers, whether some of the larger brewers, getting to understand from the inside out how these businesses, how these brewers make the delicious nectar that you and I both enjoy is part of this really fantastic journey. So I'm so excited to invite you into this journey with me. Stay tuned. Right, now you can see my day at Signal Brewery. And to start off with, just a few clips of me getting ready, making myself health and safety approved. Got the boots, got the gloves, got the overalls, got everything going on. So you're just gonna see a little bit of an overview of the entire setup at Signal. That's the very, very beginning of the process where we're just adding the malts to the water, to the very hot water, which is mixing in and currently swirling away. We've just closed the seal and letting that work away in the background. And look, there's a little bit of fun and a little bit of dancing from me. This is the slightly larger kettle that had previously done another boil of basically water, hot water and hops that had been previously mixed in from the earlier batch. As that has been drained, what's left is a hell of a lot of hops. And it wasn't that fun. I mean, this is the, let's say, unglamorous part of brewing. Yeah, you can see, look at the heat, sweating, really, really hot and steamy in there. And look at Tom, oh my God, I remember this. He set that off right next to my ear and that absolutely scared the life out of me. So I got a bit of help from the gang whilst we start heaving a lot of those hops into the bucket, into the bin. I think I filled up the entire bin and then some. Best part of this was getting a little bit of time using the high pressured water gun. And really that's just used to remove a lot of the residue, the stuff that just won't come off with your hands. And when you're burning, well, not even burning, when you're boiling hops and they're letting off all of these oils, they do stick to the inside of the kettle. So in order to make things really efficient, using the high pressure water gun just gets the job done very quickly. I had the pleasure of working with that for a little bit of time and oh my God, look how much steam. I'm surprised I can see through my glasses. Yeah, look, definitely enjoying that. I think I would have played with that all day if someone allowed me to, but yeah, that wouldn't have got the job done. So yeah, playing around with the high pressured water gun was great fun. And obviously, once the job was cleaned, what we did is we drained all of the thick, sugary water that would have essentially boiled with the malts. That was drained and then sent into the next slightly larger kettle. And once that drains, what you're left with is a lot of malt grains. And, you know, that was a hell of a lot of malt grains. And this was definitely much more back-breaking than the hops, because the hops are pretty light and, you know, they're almost like dried flowers, whereas this is like real heavy grains, and you can see the dust and this heat. It was just heavy, brutal work. My back was in bits, but I still did it in relatively good time. I think the worst time that someone took to empty that out was about an hour and a half. I think it took me probably about 35 to 40 minutes, which, yeah, having not been to the gym for a very long time, was a very big test of fitness. And I respect all brewers that have to do this every single day. Well, not every day, but every time they brew. And for one of the most important parts of this journey, adding in the hops, getting the aroma. First, you add the hops for the bittering. This was a little bit of a later addition, where this is adding more flavor. And I'm just using a large ladle to basically move it all around, get it completely covered in water to make sure that the hops can really embed themselves within the liquid and express all of those flavors that you want to come through when you're sipping a high quality lager. Tom, thanks for having me down here today.
No worries.
It's been great to actually have the opportunity to really see end to end how it is like to make a beer. Now, before we sort of break down what we've done today, it would be helpful for me to learn a little bit more about your background and how you became a head brewer at Signal. So
I studied at university doing sort of microbiology, biochemistry and pharmacology.
Okay.
And I decided that working in a lab wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
I've always had a love of beer.
Yeah.
And so I just so happened to meet Charlie, the owner, on a different brewery tour.
Okay.
We got chatting, we had a couple of pints, and next thing I know, sort of 2 days later, I was out here helping with the brew, just like you were today.
Okay.
He liked my work ethic and offered me a job, yeah.
Okay. So you've been here for now?
About a year and a half, yeah.
Okay. And how was the first, 6 months in learning the sort of process of brewing and actually applying what you've learned at university in biochemistry into like brewing itself? How did you find that?
So obviously there's a steep learning curve to begin with.
Yeah.
You pick up a lot in a short period of time, and then it's just about sort of refining skills and sort of nailing down on all the sort of precise minutiae of brewing.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is an established company before I got here.
Yeah.
So the recipes and the processes were all in place. Mm-hmm. It's all just about sort of refinement and getting consistency and getting the best sort of product possible.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting, because I found that certain brewers that I've discovered on my time in sort of understanding the brewing industry, sometimes the head brewer or the owner is actually sort of got a chemistry-like background.
Yeah, and I think it helps because it's all sort of transferable skills, and
Yeah.
it's all an understanding of how the process actually works.
Yeah.
And how to optimize it.
Yeah. Okay. So today we brewed 34 or 36,000 litres?
3,600 litres.
3,600.
Yeah. So our kit is 10 barrel, which
Okay.
which equates to about 1,600 litres of yield.
Okay.
So we're double brewing today.
Okay.
Hence, so I started pretty early this morning.
Yeah.
And
I chipped in a little bit.
Yeah. You did very well. Digging out the mash,
Yeah.
heavy work, hot work, especially in this heat.
Sweaty.
Yeah.
Very steamy.
But no, yeah, you did really well.
Okay, so one of the things that we need to just get through today is actually what have we covered? So walk me through the individual steps of actually making lager.
So we prepared all the ingredients. So we opened all the bags of malt.
Yeah.
Got the water treatments ready. So the first stage is mashing in. So that is where you add hot water to malted barley.
Yeah.
They mix up and basically make a sort of mixture that you leave for an hour.
Yeah.
The starch in the malted barley gets turned into sugar, which is then fermented by the yeast later on down the line.
Yeah.
After that, you separate the wort, it's called, sugar water essentially, from the grains themselves.
Yeah.
And transfer them into the kettle or copper.
Sparging, right?
So you're transferring they call it the first runnings off, which is all the nice sort of sugary, proteiny stuff.
Yeah.
After that, you sort of start sparging, which is basically rinsing the grains to get all the nice sort of good nutrients and sugar into the kettle.
And this takes about how long?
We do a sort of 1 hour mash, and so that takes probably about 2 hours total to mash in, maybe a little longer, to mash in and get it into the kettle.
Awesome. And then beyond that, then we move into...
So then we're into the kettle.
Yeah.
So then we get it up to the boil, which sterilises it and sort of coagulates some protein to make it sort of nice and clear later on down the line.
Yeah.
We then add hops into that. Hops give it aroma and bitterness.
Yeah.
So you boil it for an hour, hour and a half, depending on the recipe.
Okay.
And then you're ready to transfer.
Now, one thing I wanted to stop you there on is when we added the hops earlier, we were doing it at different times. Is there a reason that we decided to do that?
Yeah, so sort of the earlier on in the boil that you add the hops, they give they're the bittering hops.
Okay.
So they need to longer to release their compounds, and you sort of boil them more.
Okay.
And then towards the end, you add hops for aroma because the more delicate compounds will just evaporate off, and you won't get anything if you boil them too long.
Okay. And we saw some, I think there were some pellets, or what were those things that we...
Oh yes, we use Protaflop, or carrageenan, I think it's called.
Carrageenan, okay.
Yeah, which basically it sort of reacts with the protein, makes it coagulate and settle out, called hot break.
Okay.
Which then settles out in the kettle. Okay. And so that then gives it clear a bit.
Okay. So it's more of a water treatment solution. That's a natural water treatment. I think he said it was almost like seaweed.
Yeah. So it's derived from seaweed, and basically it's just a sort of natural way of settling out some of the protein that can lead to permanent haze. Okay. Chill haze.
I've obviously been involved in I came in about 2/3 into the process.
Yeah.
Maybe. And obviously was doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah. You came in at the fun part.
Yeah. Actually just dumping a lot of malt into bags and then cleaning out. My favourite part was actually using the power hose.
It's great fun.
which is a lot more fun than just lifting and lifting out.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty mind-numbing, but I guess that's part of the...
I mean most of the job is cleaning.
Yeah.
I'd say 80% is cleaning, and then the rest is admin and brewing.
Yeah. So we basically made a batch of beer. Tell us about what happens after the process that we left off today, because obviously it has now gone into the tank.
Yeah, it's gone into the fermenting vessel.
Yeah. So it takes something like 30 days?
Yeah, it obviously depends on the style of beer. So we leave ours for about 35 to 40 days, just to let it condition really nicely. And
then I think we spoke about earlier that the reason that it takes 30 days is because it needs a lot of the yeast needs to basically settle.
So there's primary fermentation, which is where the alcohol gets made.
Yeah.
So sugar's turned into alcohol and carbon dioxide.
Okay.
So that's done at a temperature range between sort of 7 and 20 degrees ish. Obviously depends on the yeast in the beer.
Yeah.
And then after that, once you've reached your final gravity and have alcohol in the beer, you crash the beer down to sort of 0 or -1 degrees. That basically puts the yeast to sleep, and they basically settle down and fall to the bottom, so you can take them out to the bottom.
Yeah. And then after that, it's basically ready to go in a keg or in a can.
Yeah. So then you carbonate, and then it's ready to go.
Good to go. Obviously, I'm not going to be here for the next 30 days, so I'm not going to be able to see that part of the process.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we were able to see everything up until that point was great. I think shortly we can maybe crack open a beer and see what it looks like in the finished product. Before we do that, why don't you just talk to us a little bit about your core range? Because we've got a few beers here. We did the lager today. this is, I think, juiced.
Yeah, so that's the turbo juice. That's our sort of fruity IPA, really sort of big in flavour.
Nice.
Dry hop with some New Zealand hops.
Okay. That tends to be my sort of
it's a really nice summer beer.
Yeah.
And then we got the pale ale, which is an American style pale ale. Very crisp, very refreshing.
Nice.
Like that one a lot too. I like them all really.
Yeah. Probably drink a lot, right?
Yeah.
To be here.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the perks of the job, but yeah.
Awesome. And then the Crannock.
The Crannock, so that's another lager,
Yeah.
but that's one that we use some rice in, which gives it a nice sort of light colour and sort of a nice sort of honeyed finish.
Awesome. Yeah.
Finally, I was able to share an ice cold lager with Tom, the head brewer at Signal Brewery, and what a day I had. I mean, they were so warm, welcoming. I was able to ask any question I wanted. The amount of knowledge that I gained in such a short space of time was hard to imagine. And it really tells me a lot about what the brewing industry can do. And these guys really demonstrated how, inclusive and just open that they are. So I can't wait to support Signal on their path forward. So stay tuned for more.
Nice. All right, thought that one better than me. Well done, man.
Nice one.
All right, cheers. Thank you for coming.
No worries. Thanks.